Rimworld, you build your own colony, while defending and communicating against others who wield tribal spears to space-age lasers. In this episode, I decided to do something that I've never done before, and that is establishing a cult of the blind. Before we delve into this madness, let me tell you about our colonists. Ulf, a fighting man who knows his way around plants and medicine. Sylvie, who's already blinded and the most skilled of them all. He's good at building, mining, and knows everything about food, and is one hell of a charismatic person. Carney, she won't touch cooking or plants, but she's a masterful crafter, quite the artist, and also skilled in the medical field. The first thing I do is make a farm, because if we don't have a reliable food source, our colonists will perish very soon. I also make another farm on the other side of the river, one for potatoes and one for cotton. Since Ulf and Sylvie are both good with plants, they will be able to manage 2 farms. I also start with some good old deforestation, as we will be needing a lot of wood to make our base. And also, as the night comes, I make some beds, so they don't have to sleep on the ground and they don't suffer a huge mood penalty. With deforestation complete, I start constructing the base, putting all the rooms in one big square, putting production room at the top, sleeping barracks on the right, and in the middle on the left, our storage room, where we're utilizing the extra wood for shelves to hold more items. Now, I am also playing on the highest difficulty, so something to keep in mind is that if we ever fall behind, especially in research, we will perish pretty quickly. So after the base is done, I set up 2 research tables, and I start the research on watermill generators, as we have 2 rivers nearby and this will be an easy source for electricity. I assign Ulf and Carney to start researching right away. And at this point in time, since we are decently established, we get to name our faction and our settlement. I go with the faction name Seekers of Sight, because it fits the cult. The next day, while researching, something unfortunate happens. A raid. The assassins. There's only one guy. Oh, I was like expecting like 4 people. Luckily, it's only 1 person, which surprised me considering the difficulty. But hey, I won't complain. Since it is a melee raider, I sent out Ulf with his big iron. It turns out to be a little bit of a cat and mouse. Ulf shoots, the guy runs, Ulf chases, and then the guy attacks again. It's a little bit of a back and forth, kind of funny, but hey, at least we dealt with him. Anyways, the next day, I put some furniture into their barracks, as colonists don't like sharing their bedrooms, but putting in some furniture can at least help with their mood. While Ulf and Carney research, I send Sylvie out to do some menial tasks, like chopping down the nearby forest for some extra wood, especially for the watermill generators that we have to build later, which are quite expensive. And hey, we got some research done and we're now researching batteries. And while they research away, they become lovers. Seems like their daily interactions around the research tables really sparked something. Good for them. With batteries now done, we have all we need to set up power. And I also start to research for smithing to acquire weapons and armor. We then get visited by our first traders. They have a goat. They have glitter rolled medicine. But sadly, with no money, we can't really buy anything. At least our potato farm is ready to be harvested. And what's good about potatoes is that, even if they're not refrigerated, they will last for around 30 days. They're quite a reliable food source. The next day, our cotton farm was also harvestable, giving us a good supply of cloth, which can be used to craft various means of clothing and armor. And hey look, our storage is pretty much full. So I decided to do some expansion. I wanted a bigger room as a dining hall and recreation, and on the side of that, a freezer, and on top of that, a butchering and cooking room, and a small room for batteries. And with all the resources at the ready, it doesn't take long for it all to be finished. The following night, we get raided by the Southeast Lananmenba, who are equipped with guns. Luckily, there's only 2 of them. Okay, still only 1 guy, no 2 guys, shit. The same night, a faction assault occurs, where 2 groups from opposing factions are going to fight on our land. But luckily, not against us, but against each other, as long as we don't get involved. And while the victors of the faction fight leave, the raid begins. There, and Ulf here. I set up defensive positions, but a fire also happens. Oh my god. So while Carney and Ulf holds the door, I send Sylvie to take care of the fire, so it doesn't spread throughout the base. Now I also had to be careful that they didn't attack Sylvie and instead went for the main entrance where Carney and Ulf was waiting. Right side. Okay. Dude, Ulf, hit him. Ulf, The fight got a bit troublesome at the end, but luckily Carney escaped with just bruises. Okay, she's just bruised. The following night, because of her pain, she went into a mental break. What are you doing? And decided to binge on some various drugs left around on the map. The following day, I finally set up our battery room. And it doesn't take long for yet another raid to occur. This time being attacked from two sides, one from the east and one from the south. Enemies also being equipped with good weaponry. So I ready our defenses. With dynamite being a fast way to enter opponents, I send Sylvie out alone. But for some reason, Sylvie never manages to throw the dynamite, probably a bug, and she gets downed and badly wounded. So I send Ulf and Carney to her rescue. Carney manages to hit Ulf with her first bullet, but after that she luckily hits a shot that downs the enemy. Now one of the raiders had kidnapped Sylvie and tries to leave the map, so a wild goose chase ensues. And because of the flak vest that the enemy is wearing, it takes quite a lot to down them. So long that Sylvie perishes in the middle of the fight. So we build a sarcophagus at the end of our dining hall. Then later turning into a temple in her honor, fitting the place out with altars and lecterns. This is also a quite important room for our cult. I then put down our watermills as I want to start using electricity. We then have another trader visit us. I sell some blue fur for around 40 silver, but with not much money, we can't really buy anything. I then start to deck out our freezer with a bunch of shelves, so our food doesn't spoil. And then I put some furniture around the base, and while this happened, Ulf proposed to Carney, offering a lifelong commitment to her, which she agreed and they're now engaged, which means that there will be a marriage sometime in the future. We then get our harvest for the second time this year, where we now stack up with quite a lot of potatoes. Using our temple, I start one of the rituals to change the roles, making Ulf a blindfolder. This will allow him to convert other people, reassure colonists, counsel them, and preach health for better regeneration. With him as a blindfolder of the cult, we start a funeral. Him being a blindfolder gives a bonus to the funeral, making both Ulf and Carney have a better mood boost after. Now I also start the sacred ritual of the blinding, cutting out both of Carney's eyes and blinding her. Now this also has a chance to give her psychic powers, but sadly she didn't get that. But at least she will have a massive bonus to her mood. I then also start the sacred blinding of Ulf, where at the end of it, he actually gets a Psylink, turning him into a Psycaster. And he unlocks the power Word of Trust, where he can speak to a prisoner while using psychic suggestions to reduce their resistance to recruitment, which will make recruiting prisoners a lot easier. Oh shit. With the recent calm comes a storm, and another raid is here from the Purple Field Settlement, where they are also armed with guns, so I send Ulf and Carney to hold two doorways, to use them as cover. One of the raiders start pushing Carney, and this is where I realize that their blinding can make them miss quite atrociously. So after a little scuffle, Carney takes some damage and Ulf manages to put the enemy down. And the other raider decides to flee, so I make Ulf chase him in the hopes of maybe getting a prisoner. Uh-oh. With the risk of Ulf getting beat down, I give him the order to shoot Callie, putting him down in one shot. We then hurry him to the base and give him aid, but sadly, it was too late and Callie passed away. Callie died. Well, seems like there would only be Ulf and Carney for a while. Skipping a few days forward of prosperity, I have given Ulf some new clothes. And the same with Carney, giving them both a kind of mysterious look. With quite a lot of food in storage, I make them research in their free time. Now luckily we also had a third harvest, and this time I gave the order to not replant the potatoes, as they wouldn't be able to get harvestable until winter either way, and our food storage was almost full. I then give Ulf a metal mask for better protection, and I start putting beds in the other room, which I can then utilize as a better prison or a medical bay. We then also have some traders visit where we sell quite a lot of stuff that we don't need, like excess clothings and excess leathers. But they didn't really have anything that I wanted to buy, so we just kept the money. And luckily for us, they also gave us a gift. 21 Molotov cocktails. You gave us 21 Molotov cocktails? Damn, okay. And we were now also done with smithing, allowing us to make medieval weaponry and armor. And I then start researching gunpowder. We then also have some wild buffaloes roaming into the map, so I sent Carney out to try and tame them. I then also set up the blueprint for a pen, because we need somewhere to put them. And with our excess wood, I also put in some furniture in our prisoner room, as having a good prison can make prisoners convert way faster. And it didn't take long for Carney to actually tame 4 muffalos, 3 females and 1 male. We then had a spacer crash land in our territory, his name being Girish, so I send Ulf out to try and save him. We rush him into our base and convert the prison room into a medical bay, and I tend to him as fast as I can. But with his grievous wounds, he sadly passes away. Dude, we don't even have time to fucking help him. Now it being late September-October, our cloth is also harvestable, and I decide to plant some camroot instead, as we do already have over 600 cloth in storage. Then also get visited by quite some special guests. These are royal tribute collectors for the Empire, and they will accept any slaves or any gold, but sadly we don't have any. And hey, another raid, this time by the Tigermen. Oh shit. And they have quite the numbers as well. So I start to build up some defenses and some traps, as 2v6 is not favorable to us. So I managed to set up 3 fake entrances with traps, and then have Uller and Carney in the northwest of the base, behind some sandbags. Our brave Boomalope charges headfirst into Boyle and sets him ablaze. Holy shit, Boomrat. Then the first enemy charges Ulf and Carney. With Boyle ablaze, one of the enemies decides to test our entrance and quickly gets put down. Ulf and Carney now gets charged by 2 melee units. Because of their blindness, they miss a little bit here and there, but luckily Ulf is wearing armor and he's able to tank a lot of their hits. And downing one of them seemed to be enough for the other ones to flee. I then send Ulf and Carney to capture 2 of the enemies, Boyle and Tycho. With Ulf being hurt, I send him to tend to himself, while Carney tends to Tycho. And after Ulf is done with himself, he tends to Boyle. Boyle has an infection? He has 2 infections? Okay, alright. Oh, 3 infections. Okay. Another infection? Dude, if you live, then that's just a pure miracle. Now, Ulf tended to pour Boyle's infections for so long that he himself passed out to exhaustion. Now, we also had another trader visit us, and this time we actually bought something. A cloth ceremonial hood for Ulf. Oh, look at this guy. Holy. Now, Boyle wasn't doing too well with his infections, so I decided to execute him. Nice. That was nice, satisfying public execution. And after that, at least Tycho was healing well. And here we are again with another raid. Seems like we couldn't really get a break. And they were quite heavily armed. So I decided to use one of our fake entrances, build some sandbags, put both Ulf and Carney behind them for some cover. Fuck! No! With Ulf and Carney both down, a strange man appears. Oh! Per! Per! We need you, man! With our colony in peril, a man in black appears. Now, these mysterious people can appear if both your colonists are downed, but it won't always happen. But luckily, it happened to us. And I was ecstatic that we might have a chance to save both Ulf and Carney. With Ulf's captor down and him not being in immediate danger, I sent Per to try and save Carney. And this would prove to be difficult, as her captor was heavily armored. This guy really was no joke. He was able to dodge and tank a lot of hits, even while carrying Carney. And I was losing hope. He was showing no signs of going down, and he was getting ever closer to escaping. Carney was also pretty badly hurt and was in danger of losing her life. How? How is this guy still standing? Luckily, right at the edge of the map, he goes down and I immediately tend to Carney. And Ulf was slowly dragging himself inside. Rescuing Carney and putting her back inside the base, Ulf had gotten an infection, where he also later collapses. Now this was pretty bad, as the infection was also leading by 10%. If the infection reaches 100% before his immunity does, then he will die. Now this was a race between life and death. After doing so much, Per breaks. That's fine. Per, you did what you had to. Thank you, man. Carney also tries to eat, but she collapses. We also get a quest of Bartlett and the Timberwolves, where a guy called Bartlett wants to join, but a pack of 8 manhunting Timberwolves are hunting him. So of course I accept, and I close all the doors to the base. But with enough food in the base, this wouldn't be an issue, as the Timberwolves would just roam around the base until they stop. Now Bartlett could also help tend to Ulf, and Bartlett was also a good cook. Now my fear had come true. The infection won against Ulf, and sadly, he passed away. So I set up a second sarcophagus, and we bury him. The group had now lost one of its core members and its blindfolder, and it was at this point where I also realized that we couldn't get a new blindfolder, as we needed 3 people to be part of this cult. But sadly, the only one who was part of the cult was Carney. And now without a blindfolder, we couldn't convert the others, so we were kind of stuck here. I then set up a makeshift bedroom in the dining hall, and our research gets finished, and I started researching pemmican as it's a good food type. I then start an expansion, building 2 rooms, one for Bartlett and one for Per. I also sent Carney to try and convert Tycho to the religion of the blind, as we desperately needed new members, because this cult was not going down anytime soon. Now Carney had been hard at work making some new gear for Bartlett, and we were able to convert Tycho to our cult. All we needed now was to recruit him. I then also built some defenses near 2 of the entrances, and then put a table with some stools inside the prison to help with further mood boosting. Per is going through a withdrawal of his drugs, so he breaks, but on the other hand, we were able to recruit Tycho. Nice, Tycho joined. Now having 2 members of our cult. I then give the melee weapons that Bartlett had to Tycho, as Tycho was quite good at melee. I then start a second expansion, building 2 more rooms, building 1 for Tycho and 1 spare. I then also sent Bartlett and Tycho on a hunt. Let's get some bear meat, shall we? I wanted them to kill a bear. In the midst of fighting, Tycho gets pushed onto the ground, and the bear claws out his eye. Now luckily, because he's a part of the religion, this is actually good for him, and he gets a small mood boost out of it. With the expansion almost complete, I decide to rename everyone. Look at Tycho go! As I didn't feel like their names matched. So we have Davy Jones, Maze, and Eros. I then gave Carney quite the task to armor up Eros, and it didn't take long until he turned into quite a knight. And it was just in time. Attacking immediately. This was no ordinary raid. Oh my fucking god, they're landing inside the fucking base. Hello? Now I was caught by surprise, and I tried to scramble the best defense that I could. And because I haven't experienced a lot of these type of raids, I didn't know how long it would take for them to get out of their pods. I did a little misplay with positioning. With Carney and Eros having both Gladius and a shield, I tried to put them in the front line and put Davy Jones in the back to shoot, with Mace as support. As you can see throughout the fight, Eros was tanking like quite the Iron Turtle. With the mace gunned down, Davy Jones hits a double headshot. Fuck it, Eros, run up there. That enemy for sure got sent to the locker. Nice, a fucking headshot, Davy Jones. Nice. Okay, who's hurt? Now this was a victory, a pretty close victory, and now I just had to scramble all the wounded and reorganize. With Mace, Eros, and Davy being the most hurt. Mace being the most wounded, he held priority. A fire that went unnoticed in my stress. When Carney opened the door, she immediately died due to the heat and fumes. My mistake here was trying to send Davy in to extinguish the fire, and he got downed as well. Now there was a huge issue. Only Eros could help, as Mace couldn't even walk. So I sent Eros to try and tame the flames. If these flames spread, it would be game over. Eros could not defend another raid, and Mace couldn't do anything, and if all these food supplies would burn, they would both starve. With the outer walls destroyed, I had to send Eros in to extinguish the flames. It looked good for quite a while, and he was able to do a lot of work. Sadly, even with his metal armor, he caught fire, and he was downed. Mace couldn't do anything but watch the fire engulf his room, and soon him. This would be the end of our colony. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe and like, and I'll see you another time.